Round here, them guns get the last word.
Tekken 6 started the scrubby comeback. Yeah, Tekken 6 was the birth of the birth of rage, the birth of combos, the birth of heavy guards. Do you guys know what heavy guards is? Heavy guards is basically that pushback that you get on some attacks to where it makes a launch punishable move look safe. You know, like Yoshimitsu's forward down forward 1 having a slight pushback to it is a heavy guard. I'll show you guys real quickly. It's a big part of Tekken, but it's so obscure to where most people aren't even aware of it. You see how Marizu gets pushed back right there? And to the untrained eye, it looks like Yoshimitsu is putting you in a dangerous situation. For someone who is new to Tekken, they will see their character get pushed back on block like that, and they will be afraid to attack. That's literally the idea behind it. Harada knows that when you do this move, a new player will be like, oh, it's scary. Even with this, the 2-2, right? There's a lot of moves that do it. Fake looking plus. Yeah, exactly. Like, look at this one. Minus 13, but look at your character. This idea was invented in Tekken 6, and Harada literally knows that this is deceptive. But he wants the game to be this way. He wants new players to not know the immediate answer and to figure it out. But it kind of contradicts frame data. Frame data is giving that immediate minus 13 answer. So why would you leave in the thing that... Because you know... The heavy guard was invented when Harada didn't want people to have access to frame data, because he also thought frame data would give away all of the secrets that is Tekken. So that's why he made it even more difficult to understand Tekken, because he wanted players to figure it out on their own. So he made it as weird as possible to do so. You see the backward philosophy and how now you have mechanics in the game that kind of clash with one another. The heavy guard was designed to confuse players and make them, you know, react on their own, but then frame data is giving players that answer. That sounds dumb. Yeah, it is dumb. It is dumb, but that's literally what Harada did. It's called a heavy guard. No one have ever complained about heavy guards. That's not true, actually. You're just saying stuff. That's not true. People have complained about it. They just don't know how to describe it. That's not true. And I'm complaining about it right now. And we complained about it before. And people complained about it in Tekken 6. You guys are just yapping sometimes. You can't show up and say no one has ever complained about it. You never complained about it, but that doesn't mean no one has complained about it. Why do you think frame data is in the game? It's because people complained about it. People complained that the Tekken developers were designing the game in a way to where it's confusing players and is putting players at a disadvantage. And they should give players as much information as possible so that they can better understand Tekken and better play Tekken. People have complained about it. Y'all just be yapping sometimes. It's not any issue. It is an issue. It's probably not an issue for you because you are at a level of Tekken to where this issue doesn't apply to you, but it's an issue for people who are showing up to Tekken. There's different problems at different levels, right? A heavy guard may not be affecting you because you already know the frame data, but there's probably things that is affecting you that isn't affecting people at that level. Like, for example, multiple tailspins in the combo is not affecting someone who is new to Tekken. Someone who is new to Tekken isn't affected by multiple tailspins, but you as someone who is very skilled is affected. Just because it's affecting one group of players and not the other group of players doesn't mean that you ignore the problem, because the game needs to be balanced for everyone, right? The game needs to work for everyone. So there's multiple things that is affecting casuals and not you, and it is affecting you and not casual. Let's make the game unintuitive because new players. They didn't do it for new players. They did it to force new players. I don't know what it was about the way that you guys play Tekken 5, but they didn't like it. And they put heavy guards in the game to force new players to play differently. We don't know Harada's full ideas behind it, but we know why he did it. He did it so players wouldn't perfectly punish everything, and they would come up with unique ideas of how to respond. When a person does a minus 13 attack, Harada thinks the game would be very boring if everyone just did the 13 frame punish. He wants some people to do a heat activate, some people to do a grab, some people to do, you know, a 14 frame move that goes into a stance instead, right? He thinks that's more interesting and exciting than everyone doing the same punish. And he's talking about at a casual level. And I kind of disagree with that. Because, you know, you have Harada making the game that way, but then you have the players making fun of other players for not being able to punish properly. But you have to keep in mind that the guy who is literally in charge of the game is making it visually difficult for those guys to understand when they can at least punish. It takes a long time to get over that visual hurdle, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. We've been doing it for so long. Me, I'm still in the process of doing it, so like I am living it right now, you know. But a lot of people have been perfect punishing for so long to where they don't even know what it's like to not know, like, is that move punishable? This move has pushback. Is that, even this Law player is doing it here and there where he's doing moves that are punishable and then Marizu isn't punishing it, and it's because it's pushing her away. She looks like she's like in danger when she's not, and that's by design. But I also think at a casual level, it's not about perfect punishing and doing everything most optimal. It's about having a good time. That's the biggest thing that matter. This is why Tekken 8 isn't broken at a casual level, but it's broken competitively. Because competitively, all of these things are being used super optimally, but in the casual level, people aren't doing, they can't do it. One, they can't do it because of skill, but then two, they don't even know that it exists. Have that kind of guard animation is just frame data, is intentionally inconsistent. It actually paradoxical game design. You know why they both exist at the same time? It's because players forced the developers to put frame data, but Harada this is still his vision at the end of the day, right? So frame data, basically, if Harada really could have his utopia of Tekken, it wouldn't exist. So then everything would fall in line. The only reason frame data exists is because one, other fighting games did it, but then two, Tekken players forced them to do it. So that's why it contradicts itself, is because that's the player's influence over the game, right? 3 characters that suck and one is the best. That's the shift, though. That's the shift between the developers making the game how they want it versus making the game how the players want it. The same way we're talking about heavy guards and frame data contradicting each other, Anna and the other 3 characters also contradict, but that's once again players' influence over them. I think Mike ATO explained it best. The game is made the way that the developers want, but since it's a live service game, it's then later shaped by the players. Some criticism you can ignore, but then some criticisms become so loud to where you can't ignore it, and you have to do something or die. Okay, let me see what you're saying. I'm saying that Tekken 6, the implementation of bound system, wall combos, and rage arts were primary things that people complained about. Just like every move you don't know how to deal with, you will just go and lab it. Because most developers just want you to play the game, just like Smash Brothers developers didn't want it to be a competitive game. He wanted it to be a game you could play for fun. Exactly. But the thing is that you want the game to be played for fun, but then you have a competitive circuit. Those two things kind of clash. But the thing is that fighting games kind of need their competitive circuit. The player base did that. The fighting games kind of need it. Fighting games kind of need let's play some Marizu. Actually, Marizu is going to make me focus too much on the game.